Hello, all of you bold, beautiful, brilliant, and highly evolved souls. I'm Davina, and today's topic is cognitive distortions. And these are basically ways of thinking, unhelpful ways of thinking that are generally negative and can generate more depression, more anxiety, um, because that's, our thoughts are then spinning and going into a negative, to a negative place. And yeah, I definitely want to say that I'm definitely not for like just a think positive kind of thing. I'm definitely not for that. To a certain extent, we have a little bit of control over our thoughts. Um, but as you probably know, if you're affected by trauma, which I think pretty much everybody on the planet is, then our brains are, our mind is, from the subconscious mind. Those thoughts are coming from our subconscious. It's just happening. And at such a rapid rate. I mean, you cannot possibly like you have how many thousands of thoughts in a I don't know, in an hour even. So yeah, these are not I just kind of want to emphasize that these are not meant to be like all you have to do is just, change your thinking kind of thing, because it's obviously way, way, way more complex than that. And what I believe is that often it's because we are in a flashback that we are having this kind of distorted thinking. And I believe too that there's probably many of them, the distorted thinking came from our childhood, because we were in that unsafe situation. And, so our thinking gets messed up. It's not your fault. I guess that's my main point. It's not your fault. And this is not something that, to like get a fix it kind of attitude. It's just to bring awareness. And that's to bring a gentle, curious, compassionate awareness, if you can, to what you're thinking. And sometimes that can just give just again that just little bit of space, so that you're like, even if you can just name it, oh, this is a cognitive distortion, it can kind of help loosen it up a bit, maybe not feel so so heavy or so sort of trapped by these thoughts. So I've got 11 of them here. And the first one, probably you've heard of this one, is all or nothing thinking, or black and white thinking. And this is also known as polarized thinking. So it's going from one extreme to the other, or thinking in absolute terms. So using words like always, never, every, no, nobody, all of those words. So for example, I'll never get a job. Nobody cares about me. All the people at work are idiots or something. It's you're kind of really kind of clumping everything together, and to an extreme, rather than seeing things in a more balanced way. Number two, this is, I believe, definitely caused by trauma. This is catastrophizing. And I know Pete Walker talks about this in his book. It is focusing on the worst possible outcome. And the mind goes into, what if A happens? And if A happens, then what if B happens? And if B happens, what if C happens? If C happens, what if D happens? And then I'm homeless and I'm dead, or crippled, or homeless, or worst case scenario, right? It always kind of goes into that. And also, I don't know, for me, it often ends in like I'm homeless, or some horrible situation. And when we're children, yeah, we often, if we're being abused, or we're in a, emotionally unsafe place, then, that's, our mind starts going there to the worst case scenarios, because we feel that kind of, it's kind of like a hopeless kind of feeling. And it's a lot of fear, a lot of hopelessness around that kind of thinking. So again, it can start as a flashback of hopelessness and fear, and then, triggers all those thoughts. I believe it can happen the other way too, but I think it's more so, goes from emotion to the thoughts. Number 3, emotional reasoning. This is when we believe that our emotion is the truth. And I actually have a video, I believe, called Real But Not True. And this is so key when you're in a flashback because the emotions can feel so true. For example, I feel ashamed can then become, I am a failure, I am a loser, I'm no good, or whatever, those kind of thoughts. Or I feel hopeless becomes, I am hopeless. So we start to believe that that is the truth, or believe that that is the truth of who we are, the truth about our future. And so again, it's just good to have awareness of that. And it can be very, like, flashbacks can be very, very convincing. Like I was in a flashback earlier today of hopelessness, and it feels true. And I can't convince myself that it is not true, because in that moment, it feels very real and true. Number 4, the fallacy of change. And this is assuming that other people must change in order for us to be happy. And I believe this also comes from childhood trauma, because of course we are thinking our parents are going to change. Our parents are one day going to change, and we're one day going to see them, be more caring, be more loving. And if we only do the right thing, then they're going to change. And then I'll be happy. So it's very connected, I think, to people pleasing and codependency. When we're trying to, like, kind of in an indirect way control the other person so that they will like us and accept us and not reject us. So yes, that's called the fallacy of change. Number 5, hindsight bias. This is when we perceive past events as being more predictable than they actually were. So it's thinking like, I should have known at the time. There were clues, there was information. I should have known, I should have seen that. And of course, this is connected to trauma again. I shouldn't, like, if, I should have known that he was a narcissist, the signs were there. And of course, when you're looking back, you can see things much more clearly, right? You can see the whole picture, but when you're actually in it, these things may not have been clear to you. You may not have seen those things. You might have been in an emotional, mental state not to be able to, know those things, whatever that was. So basically, the truth is that you didn't have this knowledge, and you couldn't have done it any better. You couldn't have known. And this is, I believe, something that can bring, a forgiveness to yourself that, again, you didn't know, you couldn't have done it differently. Yeah. So that was hindsight bias. Number 6, jumping to conclusions. This is basically making a negative interpretation without, solid evidence. I think this is probably a common one, right? One example is mind reading. And so thinking that what another person is thinking or feeling. So, he must be angry at me. I know he must be angry. Or thinking, she must think I'm just a total idiot or something because I forgot my keys or something, like you're thinking, you think what someone else is thinking or feeling, which we don't, right? Another one is fortune telling, which is kind of predicting something, and usually predicting something negative. Like, I just know it's going to rain today at the picnic, but of course you don't know that it's going to rain, but it's like, you're kind of, again, just making these kind of conclusions that don't have any real, they might have some evidence, but, no real solid evidence. Number 7 is labeling. Pretty obvious one, just attaching labels to yourself or others, often based on behaviors, or possibly just appearances. Yeah, I'm a loser, I'm crazy, I'm unlovable. Those are all labels. Or labeling someone else, right? He's stupid, he's an asshole, any of those kind of things. And I'm working on that. And it's okay, if you're just getting out your rage or whatever, and you need to, put some labels on other people, I say, like, just go for it, if it's going to bring you some healing. But yeah, I think obviously overall we don't want to, attach these kind of things to ourselves or others. Number 8, mental filtering. And this is when we only see the negative side of a situation. I'm trying to think of an example here. An example is not coming to my mind, but yeah, just when you're just sort of overly obviously focused on the negative points of whatever circumstances that are happening, instead of like seeing it again in a more balanced way, like, oh, there's some positive here and there's some negatives. Again, just an awareness. Like, it doesn't have to be like, I have to fix this, or just, just have that awareness. Number 9, overgeneralizing. So when we take a single event and generalize it to a pattern, or like a more pervasive across the board kind of thing. So an example might be you fail a math test, and then you say, well, I am just a failure at everything. I'm a failure at school. I'm no good at school. I should just drop out. And, so again, it can bring up feelings of, feeling hopeless, because now it's not just, oh, I just failed one math test, but it's like, you've made it more, just more kind of larger or more extensive than it actually is. Number 10, personalization and blame. And these are kind of the flip side of the same coin. So personalization is putting the entire blame for something on yourself and not accounting for other people's responsibility or other factors that are not in your control. Again, I'm sure you can imagine how this is related to trauma, where we get blamed by our parents, and also then we take on that blame, thinking it's our fault that our parents are behaving in these ways, right? So it's just good to know that, this is a cognitive distortion, and children do this, right? Children do this naturally. When they're very young, they take everything kind of very personal, like they're the center of the world. And if someone is feeling sad, they're wondering if they caused that, So it's not only, something that's just natural in children, but then if you have abusive parents, like, it's, obviously just, it's going to be, you're going to have a lot of self-blame. And the opposite is just blame, which is blaming others, again, for maybe the entire thing, rather than maybe that person has a degree of responsibility, and maybe I also have, my share of responsibility in the situation. So it's again, finding that kind of balance. I think most of these, I guess, sort of about finding balance in our thinking. And the last one, number 11, is shoulds. And these can, oh my God, like be like my whole day, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, I shouldn't be doing this, I should be doing this, I should be more like this, I shouldn't be like that. you know, if you're in a shame flashback and you've got that critic going, it can just be relentless, you know. And sometimes it seems, you know, well-intentioned, like it's like trying to motivate us. I should go to the gym or whatever, but it's really not a helpful thought. And just bring, you know, lots of compassion to yourself for any of these patterns. I think that's kind of the message that I want to get across. That yeah, we're only freaking human here, and yeah, yeah. So I hope that is helpful for you. It's definitely been helpful for me recently to just, you know, just sort of maybe sometimes be able to just sort of stop that. One time I wrote them down. I wrote down what I was thinking. I went, whoa, no wonder I'm feeling so, or no wonder I'm feeling more hopeless, you know, because I was just sort of adding to it by, you know, it's not to say, again, it's not to blame yourself or to, yeah, just to, you know, what can I do, you know, with what I have, and with where I'm at. So wishing you many blessings on your journey of healing and awakening. And I am Davina at Boldness Blooming. Thank you so much for watching.